Lesson 29, topic: Seeing the invisible energy of higher dimensions, where reality is created in the dimension you live in. Greetings, brothers and sisters. In this lesson, I wanted to talk about how to see the invisible energy that resides in higher dimensions, where your reality is created in this physical dimension in which you live. This is an important topic. It is the foundation for higher levels of mental capacity. First, once you have opened your third eye, you already have opened the energy centers and chakras necessary to visualize with spiritual visualization, whether through astral travel or bilocation of the mind and mental body in those higher astral dimensions. This is the first step. Once you can see the invisible energy of your physical world, you must transfer your spiritual vision to that energetic dimension where your reality is created. You can do this, as I mentioned before, through astral projection, which is usually longer and more costly to achieve, depending on your training, or through bilocation of the mind from the mental body. This also works. The vision isn't as perfect, but it also has its uses and serves this purpose. To do this, you must concentrate, be relaxed as when you begin any meditation, very relaxed, listening to your heartbeat, taking deep breaths. Then visualize your mind inside your brain. If you concentrate enough, you will be able to remove it from your brain. You must break the ties that bind the mind to the brain. Once you have broken through it with a little meditation, it is done with relative ease. You simply have to allow it to go, and the mind then will depart. You will only have to visualize what you want to see in the higher dimensions. Little by little, the vision of the physical world will appear. You will feel far removed from the physical world, and the mind will begin to ascend gradually. You will see the higher dimensions appear, and you will see how energy flows from one place to another. You will see all the actors, all the elements that are participating in the events of the physical world. The process of spiritual vision in this energetic dimension has no exhausting effect. It is not depleting at all. You can walk through this energetic dimension wherever you want. With the proper training, it only requires practice. You only have to speak with the Father and ask for help. He will indicate which elements you are seeing correspond to the physical reality in which you live, or which you wish to inquire about. Once you have heard the Father's voice, you will realize which elements correspond to the question you have asked. You will see it clearly, and then you will begin to understand how they relate to one another. The first step would be observation, understanding how they behave, observing slowly and gradually. In this state, you will see how time passes very slowly. Time at this level will seem to stand still. You can easily remain in this state for 2 or 3 hours without feeling any fatigue. You can stay like this for some time until the Father indicates that you can move on to the next phase. This next phase would be communication with the elements you are observing. This communication takes place through a spiritual link between you and these elements. You will observe that they behave intelligently, that they think, that they reason, or that they exhibit the same frenzied behavior as people in the physical dimension. In some cases, the conversations will be logical, the arguments valid, and you will observe that sometimes they lie. What you are observing is merely a reflection of the physical world, but it is not a reflection that depends on the physical world. Rather, the physical world depends on what you are observing in this energetic dimension, which is higher than the physical world. You are asking if it is possible to force these people to change their actions in the physical world through communication with their twin in their energetic dimension. The answer is yes. If your persuasive abilities are strong enough, and if the person wants to change their energetic state, they will want to change. Through a calm, well-explained dialogue, everything can be achieved. In these cases, where the person is in a bottomless pit from which it is very difficult to get out, and where the obsession with seeing reality in a negative way only increases, it is advisable to show them through images instead of through words what they can become. If they continue down this path, the images will have to be as negative as possible, but forceful without falling into catastrophism, except in exceptional cases. In cases of severe mental illness, the best advice is to leave them alone until you perceive that they themselves want to climb out of that bottomless pit. Dialogues will be useless. As soon as you observe even the slightest hint of a desired change, even if it's just to a less dire situation, you can begin a dialogue with that person, showing them what they can become if they stay on the right path. They have already begun to see that they need a change. Your conversation will usually be heard by all those involved in the problem they are trying to solve. That is, it will be heard not only by the person with the problems, but by everyone involved. This will facilitate effective communication between the various parties and help resolve the problem. Another way to change the behavior of people with problems when doing this type of therapy would be to use mental induction, sending positive messages with all the mental power you are capable of to the person or group of people with the problem. In these cases, it is usually the slowest solution, taking longer, but the solution tends to be more lasting. The mental energy you send is imbued with the energy of the Father, and that makes the mental transformation much more lasting. By mental induction, I mean the process by which you send a thought with all the power you are capable of to a person or a group of people. It is not just a dialogue. It is similar to sending energy at full power, like a lightning bolt that reaches everyone. Through that power, that thought infiltrates the center of the minds of the people involved. The dialogue is much weaker. They are allowed freedom of thought, freedom to respond. In the case of mental induction, there is no freedom. They are being forced to think that way, but it is for their own good. These techniques I am explaining only refer to their use in the first energetic dimension, the first dimension where reality is forged, which is above the physical realm. At higher levels, there are also 6 other dimensions where reality is created. To access these dimensions and change the things you want to change, this mechanism of direct mental induction with the people involved or dialogue isn't used. Instead, it's done through visualization. This is called creative magic, and we'll explain it in more detail in a later lesson because it is quite complex. I hope you use all this knowledge. It will be very helpful for you and everyone around you. So greetings, brothers and sisters, until next time.